Okay, sorry for the delay. Technical difficulties. So Danielle, you're up.
The meeting tonight is for the conduct of town business by the town board. The public is invited to participate at the items marked on the agenda, public comment. During that segment of the meeting, if you have a question or comment for the supervisor, please raise your hand and wait to be acknowledged. Please state your full name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation.
Thank you. Please rise for the pledge. All right. So just a reminder, this is a public hearing from the May 23rd, for May 23rd, 7 p.m. town board meeting. And this is for the local laws of the year 2022, amending section 71-3, open burning prohibition in certain zones of the town of Marlborough Town Code, amending section 114-5, general requirements of the Marlborough Town Code, amending section 130-14.9, street identification signs of the Marlborough Town Code, and amending section 68-10, private road signs in Marlborough Town Code. As we talked about last meeting at the public hearing, these are all like very small changes, but changes that needed to be done, like the signs are now white instead of green. There was a section in the burning section, we didn't have the zone correctly. And 114.5. So, I mean, they're very small changes. So I'm going to ask, is there anybody that has any other questions on our local law changes of 2022 that we're presenting? Having said we have none, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
I'd second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, so now we're on to our agenda, which is the workshop meeting for the town of May 23rd, 2022. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. And I need a motion to approve the minutes from the May 9th, 2022 board meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. And thank you, Danielle, for doing such a great job all the time. I know it's not that easy. And number 5, authorize the payment of bills in the amount of a big number this month here, $525,687.31. And that's because we have health insurance due, taxes due. We paid the asbestos for Tomvac. We paid engineering for Tomvac. A lot of big bills in this one, so that's why it's so much. So I need a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, so updates from myself. Just to let you guys know, the final paperwork I sent in for the peer grant for the New York State Empire State Development. That's $313,000. I believe I got the last paperwork in because every time I submit something, our lender wants something else. But I believe I got the last stuff in. So that's still going to be at least 90 to 120 days as long as everything's good. So hopefully we'll get that soon. First submittal for Tomvac I had submitted, and it was accepted by DASNY and the state grant for 19216, and that's an amount of $89,920. So they'll process that check on May 31st, and then we'll probably get it sometime after that. So that's the first submittal. So that went well. And that's the first amount of money finally from Frank Scartatos' grant, so it's a long time coming, but thank you, Frank. Milton Landing Train Station Walkway, John Beham, myself and Tom had a conversation about the staircase redesign. They had the stair steps at only 10 inches, and they're supposed to be by code 11 inches. So he had to put a work order change in to Consortes, and that's why you see the work stoppage. It has to be 11 inches by code. They actually have space to do that within the granite that they purchased. And any cost that's going to be associated with this, Beham Engineering and Architect will be covering that cost because it was their mistake. Okay? And bid opening for Tomback, if anybody doesn't know, is this Thursday, May 26th, 2 o'clock in the supervisor's office, and that's the whole bid, and it's four bids basically, HVAC, then plumbing, electric, and then the general construction. So cross our fingers that we actually get some competitive bids, because as we know, everything is sky high right now. So we'll have to evaluate that on Thursday. Final plan was submitted to CSX to Kevin Lewandowski on May 12th, and this is for the crossing. I'll put it up here. It's very simple plan, but CSX, as they may, just keeps giving us a hard time. And this is May 12th. I've emailed him and had a conversation with him twice, and they still can't say yay or nay, even though it's a very simple design. So as you can see right here is the current crossing right here. We originally had it where we were going to put it right here, right next to it, but it's hard to see on here maybe, but I could zoom in a little better. But you got to have 15 feet from the center line to the fence. So when we had it here, there wasn't enough room to the road because this is the road. And so now we moved it. I told John, look, have Jason design this so we have no more comebacks. We're definitely within the 15 feet. We're definitely exactly where they say they want us to be. And so I think they don't have anything to say negatively, so that's why they're delaying now, because they can't say anything else. But just so you know, this is an 8-foot pedestrian crossing here. That will have its own safety crossing mechanisms on both sides. There's also going to be a 32-foot opening for vehicular crossing for emergencies and maintenance of the property. That'll have the lighting fixtures like you should have, but it also is going to have a sliding gate, so that way the gate will always be closed. And then the safety features come into play if someone does have to cross it. The gate's now open, so if a train was to come, those safety features would go down, and then the person would know they can't cross back. But it is, just so everybody knows, it's two separate things. One's for vehicles, one's for pedestrians. It's going to come across, there's going to be a walkway along here, and a walkway that goes out across the road, and this is the transportation pickup hub, supposedly. This is where the buses could loop around the parking lot. The reason why we were trying to keep it as north as we can, and I know Dave's been down there involved with this a lot with me, is obviously the further south we put it, the more parking space we lose. The other concern was, now that we're not utilizing our deeded crossing, can CSX say, well, we're going to close this after we build it, right? So we have to get our attorneys involved and make sure we have an agreement involved and papers signed, and make sure that doesn't happen. I wouldn't assume it's going to happen, but anything is possible. So, but on this side, we're going to have to build a huge ramp that's going to come out close to where the pier is. It has to be handicap accessible, obviously. Landscape, all this will get landscaped and redesigned through the grant that we received, the $560,000 grant. But just to give you an idea where we're at, this is a very simplistic plan. I'm not sure why CSX takes so long, but honestly, I don't even know why we had to design this, because this is their specs. Just so you know, that wasted 3 months because we were all assuming they were designing it. They all were assuming we were designing it. And I guess from the court order, it said we had to design it, even though it's their design, that they told us this is what it had to be. So anyway, just to give you guys how you have to go back and forth with CSX, it's not that easy. So anyway, let's move on. So that's all I got for this week. All right, so presentations. The Tronsalitos are here. They want to talk. You got to come on up and you got to. So if you guys don't know just the background, I know myself and I know Dave have gone down there. Previous supervisors been down there. Brooklyn Bottling, as they come in and out of their facility, causes a lot of dust and stir up, and I know Jerry knows this very well. Years ago, I know Al had a conversation with them, and we thought we had an agreement on my previous board with Ed, and that they were going to blacktop about 100 feet possibly of their entranceway. If they would just blacktop that section, it probably would eliminate 75% of the dust. There was a lot more involved in that plan. They were going to knock down the house. They were going to have a new entranceway and new buildings, but that just never came to happen. So unfortunately, they have to keep dealing with the dust. So I'm going to leave it to you.
I'm just going to read off a few things, and one thing you have to understand, what they say and what they do is apples and tangerines. Been there, dealt with them. So first of all, thanks for giving us the opportunity to speak to you this evening. We are here to ask for help on a quality of life issue. We live across the street from Brooklyn Bottling on South Road in Milton. We own 2 houses and a large barn there. We're here to address the issue of the dust created by trucks entering and exiting Brooklyn Bottling parking lot. Now, Dave's been there, Scott's been there. When Dave was there, they were coming out nice and slow because we're standing there watching them, of course, you know. But when they got the pedal to the metal, and with the fans running on the engines, and they're pulling out of loads, and sometimes, I mean, the Sahara Desert doesn't create as much dust as they do. So just a little brief history. The dust issue has always been there. It's not something new. Prior Brooklyn Bottling management took steps to address this. At first, they would come with a tanker of liquid calcium chloride and apply that to the surface. That did not hold up well, so I suggested using granular. That's what my father used up on the farm, where my cousin Gary lives now. That's where I lived. And that big, long driveway, he would just put bags of calcium chloride down. So they started doing that. The granular, of course, applied periodically, does a very good job keeping the dust down. With leadership changes at Brooklyn Bottling, and I got to emphasize that, it's like a revolving door. That ended, and the dust situation became unbearable. Trucks coming out of the lot in low gear, high RPM, generates plumes of dust that covers our property. Occasionally, they will turn on an oscillating sprinkler at the entrance of the parking lot to wet down a few feet of dust. Now, you tell me what that's going to do. You're wetting down the dirt. They're dragging the dirt out onto the road. When it friggin' dries, what do you got? You got dust now on the road. So it's a no-win situation, no matter what the makeheads try to do. I'm being polite. Okay. In response to our complaints, the management did pay to have our houses pressure washed, but that leadership is no longer there in place. They did pressure wash the barn, our tenant house, and our house. But again, the people that were very easy to deal with and understanding aren't there. So we deal with the impact that has on our lives every day. I'm sure how many of you said your windows open today? Beautiful day. I'll be damned if we can open our windows. It's impossible. You know, Scott, you've been in my house. Place is immaculate. My wife keeps it immaculate. That's what we like. You know, I mean, our windows and screens are covered in dirt, which I wash off quite frequently. The dust creeps into our home, covers every surface. We vacuum daily. She even bought one of them, what the hell you call it? A Roomba. And that thing runs every day. Every day that thing runs, and every day she dumps it and cleans it with all the junk it picks up. Our outdoor surfaces are covered as well. If you like to come and sit on our back deck, we'll wipe off a place for you to sit down and Here it is. Now, here is something that really, for the life of me, I don't understand. Here are some of the people that I have contacted over the years. Ulster County Health Department. Well, they wrote them up for they had a puddle there because it was going to maybe breed mosquitoes. Dust, they don't want to know nothing. Okay, you don't want to know nothing. I called the Department of Environmental Conservation up in New Paltz multiple times. The last time I called, unfortunately, I was bad at not writing down people's names. That's my fault. He said, yeah, I'll get a guy to give you a call. I'm still waiting for the call. Then through someone, and I'll say someone, they gave me the number of the Silt DEC representative that was based in Westchester County. Now, I called her and got the Cincinnati Shuffle. Now, when that dirt runs down, it goes down into a catch basin. I don't know if it's a silt catch basin, I don't know. But then from there it goes in a creek, and from there to the river. So, just whatever. You know, Tommy Corcoran, our town code enforcement, he did as much as he could for me. He really did. Prior supervisor Al Lanzetta did multiple calls because I was bugging the hell out of him, to be honest with you. Scott, you were at the house. Dave, you were there. You know, and it's all we're trying to do is ask the town if they could put some type of dust ordinance in place. And we know it's not going to happen overnight because that's another boondoggle, trying to put something in place, and then how do you enforce it? Would you go out there with a little dust meter? I don't know. You know, it becomes very difficult. But if one thing that I just would highly recommend, I got to choose my words carefully here. If you do set up a meeting, make sure it's here, and I'll leave it at that. Make sure it's here in this building, not there, without getting into the particulars.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't want to make a big halloo, but that's just a little fourth warning type of thing. You know, it is what it is.
Chief, have you come into, and your law enforcement colleagues, have they come into any of these dust ordinance? Have you dealt with any like that? How would you detect? Because I know there are some laws on the book. I think when I was talking to Bobby, that was my thing, is I don't know how we would detect it. Like, how do you say this is, like the noise ordinance, you have a meter to detect it, but like this, how do you detect it?
I think as we move forward with exploring this, it'd be worth reaching out to the Silt Bureau, DEC, and getting information from them. There has to be a way to measure this, because they do it on a regular basis. Not so much dust, but at least the silt. There must be a way. I'm sure generally you could put in a very general ordinance that said if it creates dust, again, though, you're going to have tremendous time trying to enforce that. And, you know, and that once you think about putting in a dust ordinance, it's not going to apply just to Broken Bottle.
No, it's for everybody. It's for the town, of course.
It'll be everywhere.
Yeah.
Once you put in a law, I mean, of course, again, farmers would be exempt because they're exempt by code for these things, and they would probably be the next step up to probably creating some dust, right?
I mean, town properties as well, although we're exempt as well.
Yeah.
But we do dust mitigation. I know even at the town park, we just did dust mitigation.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Alonji did. But, you know, you're going to need something to go after them, because obviously being nice guys that everybody's been works when they're nice guys.
Yeah.
You said with administration change, you can't even get a hold of somebody there anymore.
Yeah, it's been very hard to even try to, it's hard to track down who's actually in charge. And I don't know if it's like you're getting the runaround. I mean, you've probably been there, done it, but
There's one gentleman there that I talked to, and we just talk, and he's in charge of a certain thing, and we've had discussions, and it's difficult.
What is their hesitation in your discussions with them of not wanting to blacktop.
They just
that
don't want to
area.
do it.
They just don't want to do it. I mean, I know there's a
When
cost involved.
when they
but-
did all the work down in Marlborough, when they bought the old Chelsea Home place and they did all them renovations,
Yep,
the cost, I was given all the, I gotta be careful here. I was given some information, okay? And the cost to do that section, while they were doing all the work in Marlborough, was minimal.
right. Because
Minimal.
They're here already, right? So,
It's, you know, and you're dealing, I gotta be quiet. I don't wanna.
I mean, like I said, when we was down there, there's a couple things that they can do that be, you know, being a friendly neighbor, you know, along the fence, they could plant some nice trees to hold back some of the dust. They
Where-
could blacktop, that section would hold back the dust. There's a lot of things they could do to mitigate the dust coming into your house.
You're talking about the fence, just to go one step further, I wasn't even gonna get into the other issues. What they promised to do with the fence, because at night, when they're out there, they go out there, eat, and here I am sitting in the television, and there's freaking headlights coming
Yeah,
through.
that's
So I gotta
another
shut
thing.
all the blinds,
Yeah,
because you got headlights. The workers are out there, they were out there, they got their rumba music playing and all that kind, having a grand old time, which is fine. The trucks don't bother us, the people don't bother us. It's the dust and things that they promised to do for us that they never did. And I'll leave it at that.
What I want to say is definitely you have an issue of air contamination right here, from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I just can't believe that you say you went to DEP and
I
and-
went to,
because
I
believe
called
that
everybody.
DEP, that's where they supposed to assure the quality of air in the community and the origin of which is contaminated. And I don't understand how they, you know, they're stone cold and not respond to you.
And-
Are you talking to the right people at DEP?
listen, when
DEP
I
and
call and I say, could I speak to someone about dust control? That's what I done, you know, and the one that shocked me was the health department. So, they didn't want, you know, maybe things have changed. I haven't called these people in probably a year or so. Maybe things have changed. I don't know. But after a while, you just throw up your hands and say, what the hell? They're not going to help. Who do I go to? You know? It's just frustrating.
Bob, it definitely sounds a contamination of air, and they're the agency that needs to be grilled to help you. I mean, we're going to support you as much as we can.
No,
We're not saying
and I
that
appreciate it.
But they're the agency that could give, you know, that have the most authority. Go over there and tell them, hey, you got to do this and you got to do it now.
Yeah.
I mean, we will. I believe that we're going to exhaust all possibilities from our end. I think that I don't know, Scott. Can we get a meeting with these guys?
I wanted to wait till they came here. I've been trying, like I said, trying to get a hold of who's the right person. But the thing is, I didn't want to set something up until everybody was aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Have them come here and speak, and then, we're gonna try to have a sit down. Again, you could have a sit down, they could tell you what they're gonna do. Doesn't mean they're gonna do it. Now, you know, it's like anything else in life. You gotta get the actual right person at the right time, and they have to actually be able to move forward and do it. It's just a matter of getting that right person. Now, will we get lucky? I don't know. I mean, in the meantime,
Well, you got Jerry.
Jerry.
You got Jerry as a general manager, of the plant. Now, from what I've been told, Mr. Miller, his daughter has been coming up, and she's been taking over some of the workload. I'm getting, of course, this all secondhand, and I haven't seen Mr. Miller in a while. I try not to see him, to be honest with you, because it's just whatever, you know.
Is there any other neighbors that
It's just us. It's my barn, our tenant house, our house, and then my in-laws. And that one year, they actually even washed their house. They did all four of them. But that hasn't been done.
But your in-laws could,
Yeah.
I mean, besides yourself, there's
Yeah.
other people that
Yeah,
could say,
and
hey,
you got to remember, he's 99, she's 90. You know, I just put the air conditioners in their windows, you know, to make their life a little bit easier.
I'm just
you
saying,
know?
if you
Yeah.
have, you know, numbers always
Yeah,
a
that's
good
about it.
thing.
Your point, the old St. James Rectory.
What about
we
Dave?
could
You got
see
anything
dirt
else, Dave?
on the
Go
white
ahead.
siding, and they're down the street. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the plume
Yeah.
travels.
It's frustrating, but hey,
So tonight on the way here, I made it a point to drive past Bobby's house, and I realized the traffic, is at minimal right now. There was a tractor trailer there, which is another issue. I think he's out in the middle of the road. You got to drive
always
through their
are.
parking lot. I don't even know how that's allowed. But aside from that, somebody was coming the other way, a young guy in a car who was probably speeding, and he created quite a bit of dust, and that's at 6:45 tonight. So I can't imagine when you're talking. I did stop at Bobby's, and him and I stood out in the front lawn for about 20 minutes, and like he said, because we were standing out there, anybody in the tractor trailer was going at a slow rate and trying to be, good, but it was still dusty. I'm just going to tell you from my experience. I mean, 30 years ago, the town gave me a special use permit to operate my business out of an agricultural area. But with doing so, I'm very aware of my surroundings. So, it's almost like the cost of doing business. If I'm creating dust or I'm creating noise, I try to keep it at a minimum because I have neighbors. If you're in a residential area, they're in an ag area, whatever it is, I don't know what the district is, but you try to be, responsible to your neighbors also. So what I would like to do, and I know you've already done it, but maybe we can set up a meeting with the right people. Maybe we can get a list of concerns from Bob. I know the dust concern, the headlights coming through the window, and some other concerns. Let's get it down on a piece of paper. Let's address it to the proper people. Let's record it, and then this way, if we have to take it to the next level, we don't look like idiots. We've already done our due diligence. We already know what's going on, and then we move from there. I mean, there's got to be something that can be done.
No,
I mean,
and
I would like to
appreciate
try to
that.
do it amicably and politely and say, hey, look, you got neighbors here. Not for nothing. Let's reverse positions, and how would you feel?
Maybe-
And if the guy is totally oblivious to it and doesn't want to do anything, well, then we got to take it to the next level. But-
maybe we can go in there and do a trade. You know how many empty cans and hair nets and masks
Right.
and all the stuff
Right.
that I get that blows
But,
across
but,
the
by,
street.
but by standing there a couple weeks ago with you, I did notice, and there were some simple solutions. If they could pave 50 feet in, maybe they could do some kind of mist sprayer inside the facility, not out on the road.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be some different things they could come up with, but they'd have to be willing to do it. And if they're not willing to do it, then we got to get
Yeah, I think it's like your head's on the
Jerry
head,
and
Dave.
myself and Scott
It's
and
being
whoever
a good
else, the
neighbor.
highway department, we got to get together and figure out what we're going to do.
That it comes down to the bottom line is being a good neighbor, right? You're a commercial business in a somewhat residential area. I mean, not even to justify the road itself is just crazy. They got unloading docks and you got a road going right between their two buildings. It's just, the whole setup is just, like, it shouldn't even actually be.
Yeah, but I'm assuming that was
But
a problem
that's
50
always
years
been the
ago.
problem. But to mitigate the dust, to me, it's a very simple solution. It's a very simple solution. And you blacktop it, you put up some trees, you could make sure the guys aren't out there with noise, at 2:00 in the morning putting the radio on
Well-
because they just pull it in. Because, they come in whenever in the middle of the night. And it's simple things. But
Well-
you got to get the right person to agree to do it.
There's
Bobby's
also-
been down this road for years and years and years. It's not the first rodeo, right, Bob?
There's also a thing referred to as it's the cost of doing business.
Right.
So I don't really want to hear about it's going to cost X amount of money to put that 50-foot
I don't think it's
pavement
the
in. That's not our problem. It's the cost of doing business. If you want to operate and you want to get along with everybody, there's certain things you're going to have to do. You're reaping the benefit. You're operating in an area where maybe it's not the best area for everybody, but
I don't think
They're
it's the
all-
money, to be honest with you.
No, it's not.
It's not. I
not.
don't think it's the money.
then usually it's the money.
I
That's
think it's
from
more
my
of a,
experience.
at this point, it's more of a, I want to say, personal,
Yep.
let's just say, right?
I would say so.
And
would say
that's when sometimes when things get more personal like that, you don't come to a conclusion. Now, I did get some good documentation from, I'm thinking about calling them, from when I went to my supervisors meeting this last month, and it's a free service through the county, and they do it for Orange, Ulster, and they do mitigation. This is what they do. They do mitigation, is trying to get two parties to come together, and they do everything. They'll contact them, they'll contact you, they have you sit down, and it costs like $25 to have these people do this. It's a public service. I'm almost tempted to call them because they have a 75% success rate, and they've been doing this for 40 years.
Well,
So
if
it can't hurt.
no.
Because as soon as she came to our
It's a good
meeting
idea.
and started talking, I went right up to her and I said, "Oh, I think I got something for you."
Yeah,
So,
it's,
but I'm going to try to make some calls first. If we can't get any resolve in the meeting, then I'm going to make that call if you don't mind. That call, all I have to do is give her your name and their name, and then
Oh,
they,
definitely,
and then
yeah.
they make the contacts from there.
Thank you. So all we're looking for is some help, some guidance, that's all.
I just gave
And we
it
know
to
it's not
Jerry,
going to
right? So-
happen overnight, so,
I'll bring it next meeting. I want to put it up for the public because it's not just for us, it's for anybody within the public. It's a public service. Like, even if you have family problems within your families
wow,
and you
that's pretty
can't
good.
come to a resolution, they come in and they help. And they just help, and they do this for the counties around the local area. So I think it's a great service. So if we have to go that route, we'll go that route. You could try everything, right?
Try everything.
I mean,
you know.
doing a dust ordinance, I don't think anybody on this board would be against putting a dust ordinance. My only reservation about a dust ordinance
How do
is
you
we could throw
enforce it?
something out there, but how do you enforce
How
it?
do you enforce it?
You know, and that's, like, I don't want to just put something out there and do it,
Stuff.
and then it doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
So, because then what happens is, well, you have this ordinance, why aren't you enforcing it? Why aren't you, it's like the kind of the noise ordinance.
You know, and how's
We have the
Tommy?
noise
How's-
ordinance, and you get there, when you take the decibel reading,
Yeah.
it doesn't hit that decibel level, but it's still aggravating for the person that's
Yeah.
in that house, right? So, but we'll look into that too.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
thank
we're
you.
going to look
I
at every avenue.
appreciate the time.
No, thank you guys for
Appreciate it,
coming,
yeah.
and we will definitely move forward
Yep.
with something. All right? Thank
Sounds
you.
like a plan.
And I'm sorry. It shouldn't be this difficult, really. Right? It shouldn't, right? Yep. All right, any comments on the agenda? Go ahead, Mayor. Go ahead.
So the only thing I would suggest is, instead of calling it dust, I would call it particulate matter. It has a different connotation, and it is more than dust, and you don't know what's in it. And then my second suggestion to you would be to get your pulmonary function test done, because you are breathing that in, and you do not know what sort of lung damage you may be incurring. Not to frighten you, but it quantifies also, and you could have it done yearly to see if there's change over time, which would then give more ammunition to having a solution. But that is, my suggestion, is rather than dust, it does sound so flimsy, but the particulate matter is a whole different ring, and it.
Well, I know my dad
and I
worked
would
at
get your-
Tilcon.
And your.
Well, he went, his whole lungs were filled with dust, you know? That's a very good point. Very good point. Because I was just telling Councilwoman Sesha, like, when my dad went for Tilcon, right, over the years, when he went for his scans, his lungs were filled with dust, so that's a good point. Something that you don't think about, right? So, okay. New business, anybody on the board got anything you want to bring up, new business? I think we have a couple things on the workshop one of them. Okay, so workshop topic, Milton South Pier use policy. I don't have much to give you right now, but I did have a meeting with Deputy Appler and Rosemary Wine and Jerry Wine, and our clerk, Colleen, and Danielle. And Danielle stayed late. Thank you, Danielle. After hours, 4 o'clock. But they have the use policy that they're working on. We gave them the guideline of what we do with the train station and at what we're going to be doing at Tomback that we already have written. And they're kind of going to use that because that was passed by legal already. And they're going to try to retrofit that into the pier use. We're going to put in some standard rates, not just this $2 or $3 per foot rate. We were talking, depending on the boat, $300 to $500 every time they dock. Same thing with like, but like if you have like a scout project or a school project or it's a non-for-profit group, there's stipulations that we have in there, just like we have at the park or anything else. They would request to the board that they would waive the fees. So they're working on that. I'm assuming we're going to have that, I'm hoping by next meeting, at least as a draft that we could look at, because we're at this time in the season where we're getting close. I had a very good conversation with American Cruise Line, Eric again. The last piece of the puzzle is, Charlie's working on it for me, is they need water on that side of the tracks, because when their boats pull up, they need to hook up water to the track. So Charlie can meter off either the train station or the sewer plant. We may have to go through the stream and over, and put a spout there. Eric and American Cruise Line would be paying for all that. That's part of the deal. But I got to get that cost from him, and Charlie's working that up. So they're looking at putting in the fender system for us, but not the one that's so in depth where they're putting piles in the ground. These are fenders that would hang off the side of the pier. Just because how their boats come up, we don't believe they would damage the pier at all. They would be paying for that, and then they would be paying either a monthly or a yearly fee. It more looks like maybe like a yearly fee, because I told them we need financial input from them to help us pay our bond. So he understands all our needs, and once I see the first offer back to us, I'll share with you, and then we'll move forward on what we want to ask for more from them, because we're always going to ask for more. So. But he's been very good, and they really want to come here, and they want to start quickly. So, and they're not the only ones. There's a couple other that I know BJ has been working on, also trying to get here. So, just to give you an update where we're at, we're getting close. Park employee assistant, Dave, you wanted to start this conversation since you deal with the park stuff a lot, and I know we've had multiple conversations, and I had multiple conversations with our superintendent.
So it's my understanding, after talking with our park manager / superintendent, whatever he wants to refer to himself as, he's getting older, and some of the tasks that he has to do are getting a little bit too much for him. So he's asking that we hire an assistant helper type person to assist him in some of his daily duties. I mean, I guess we have to discuss that as a board, correct?
Yep, that's why it's on here. So years ago, just to give you guys a background, years ago we did have an assistant always for the park. That assistant went away when we contracted out the park to try to incorporate that money into the contractual part. Tom's hours were reduced also to help that contractual part. But Tom personally came to me and told me that, he is having a little issues trying to keep up with stuff, and, he was apologizing to me, and I said, don't ever apologize, just tell me what you can't do and we'll help out. And I'll tell you, Charlie and Cliff and Bruno and the highway department guys, they've been really stepping up and helping out whenever we need it. They've been helping. So, but having said that, we got to look at probably, hopefully, transitioning someone in there to start helping Tom. So I don't know what the board's feeling is on this. Should we wait till budget season until next year, try to get through this year, which I'm thinking maybe we have to because we don't have this budgeted for. We can do an emergency hiring if we need to. I could put it out there. We'd have to decide on what you want to pay, and I'm just asking for feedback. Where do you want to do?
Okay, Scott, when I first started here, we used to hire summer interns, which were college kids that need a summer job, and they usually can start the middle of May because college ends a lot earlier, and they work till September, and that's the busiest period of time that you're going to have in the park. We used to always hire two of them, and they would work with the superintendent of the parks, and he'd give them the task to do because they're young and they can do a lot more than he can do, and it gives them two people in the area a job. And we used to get 7 or 8 or 9, 10 applications every year, and we picked from the 10 applications.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea.
You don't have the money, I understand.
I mean, right now, I think we might be able to, Cliff and Charlie and the highway guys are been helping out, maybe to get through this year. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember that. We used to hire
Yeah.
because the thing is, like, I need like right now, the pavilion needs to be stripped and repainted. Either, normally we could do that in-house. Tom, I just can't have him do that. So either we have to go out to an outside firm now and get a bid, and it'll cost a lot more money, or we wait this 1 year.
But I think.
The decking on the pier, the little small pier needs repair. The pavilion, everything needs a little help, right? So, and you're right, Ed. I think what you need is someone that's, these younger kids that could get in there and they're more agile and they could do stuff.
And they go away to college, they come back here, and they're
Yep.
always looking for a summer job, to do something. And it would hire 2 kids and get them out there working, and then they may do it for 3 years in a row because they liked it, and they worked with Tom, and Tom could tell them
Yep.
what to do. Tom could be more of a supervisory position rather than.
Well, yeah, I told Tom, look, let me put it out there. Tom is our guy, okay? He's never not going to have a job unless he tells me he doesn't want to work anymore, just so you know. But having said that, he does need some help at this point. We do have outside agency doing all the landscaping, upkeeping of the property, which is great. But there's maintenance stuff in the park, like even just changing the nets on the basketball court. Does the basketball court need to be painted? The bathroom have to be cleaned? Does their paper towels have to be put in? The soap dispenser has to be, like, just so you know, when we had the health inspector came down, we got written up. It was a small violation because the soap dispensers weren't put in. That been in the garage for 3 months, right? The grills that are rotted out have to be replaced. We have 5 of them in the garage that been there for a year. They got to get put out, right? But I need someone to do that. So I think I'm getting the feeling from you guys, let's try to get through this year and then try to budget it. Is that what we're?
Yeah, I think getting 2 interns and then for 2.5 months would not be a big budget to have. But I think you need, like I said, I think you need to see if you can get some of the younger kids that are back from college, because they'll be able to do all the physical stuff that Tom can't do anymore, and Tom can supervise it. And
Even
make
high school kids could do it. College kids,
Unless
they
you want it
part-time, looking for part-time.
So I apologize, I just stepped out to take that call, but I'm unclear as to what tasks he's looking to have help with. Is it just emptying the garbage?
It's emptying garbage, it's every
Maintenance.
daily stuff, like he can't keep up with it. So if you had a kid that he takes care of the bathrooms, he takes care of the garbage, whatever it might be.
Okay.
Take the burden off him. We got to paint the building or something like that. Let 2 kids paint
So
it.
here's where the problem lies now.
Go ahead.
Show me a young kid that wants to work right now. I can tell you firsthand, they're not out there.
Well,
And it's not just the kids, it's the parents.
yeah.
The parents have a big influence. They want their kids to make $1,000 a week, and they want to work 20 hours a week. And that's the reality of it. So
I want that job.
So
Don't say-
you are not going to find anybody. I can tell you that right off the
My
bat.
son was changing oil when he was 12 at the.
Eddie,
Well,
it's a different,
I know what
it's
you're
a
saying,
different
Dave,
generation.
but I don't want to say never. So you never know.
just have to
I know
try
you
it.
know because you're
in the business?
you're dealing with business stuff now. But look, I didn't think this year at 10 something an hour we'd get anybody to apply for the.
You're getting
the
nobody
camp.
at 10 something an hour.
Well,
you're
guess
getting
what?
$18 an hour to make
Guess
coffee.
what? We got more
and wrong
applicants
coffee.
this year than I ever got for the camp. The most we've ever got. So I'm not going to say it's impossible. When you're saying it's impossible, it's not impossible.
All right, well, let's try it.
But what I'm saying is, we actually had to turn kids away this year. And that's never happened. And they're only getting 10, 25 an
Which
hour.
is not even minimum wage.
Well, then let's get some of those kids on board, see
So-
if they want empty garbage for 10,
So
25 an hour.
there's a will, there's a way. But I'm asking you guys, do you want to advertise now for a position, or do you want to wait and we budget it? Because if we do it now, we're going to have to transfer money from our general fund into the park fund as a transfer.
Let's find out how much, figure out what it would be to add 2 people now for 2 months in the summer, 3 months in the summer.
Bobby wants to say something.
To do the park, for this position, I would think you got to be 18, I'm just thinking that. I mean, maybe we could get away with 16, but I think 18 for the park, for the things I'm asking them to do.
We're not
like
going to have mow lawns or anything like that, because that's been done by Dave.
Because they might have to drive a car, the park vehicle to get the garbage, because it's not just Cluett Chance, remember. It's the dog park, it's Sands Avenue Park, so there's different places they gotta go.
I think before we move forward, we should come up with a list of tasks that have to be done, and then we can figure out what the qualifications are. I just don't want to say the first guy that comes along, say, okay, let's do it, and then you're throwing money out because.
I know exactly what
no,
tasks.
I deal it with young people all the time, and I'm telling you right now, if we're going to have the blind leading the blind, this is not going to work, because.
Well, we're not having the blind leading the blind.
But you understand what I'm saying? If you're not going to, it's a lot of these young kids, you got to take them by the hand, and if you got to take a month and guide them for a month, and then
I
the
know.
season's almost over.
I gotta be more optimistic.
Dave,
I'm
before
gonna be
you
more-
went out,
That's my fault.
he
I'm
had a
sorry.
whole list of it that he rambled off.
I have a whole list, the same list I gave to Tom.
Exactly.
Courts need to do that. So what I'm saying, Scott, if he needs help, and Tom needs help, why you got to wait it next year? Then it'll
We don't
cost
have to,
more.
that's what I'm asking.
I just said, let's get the number together and see what it's
Yeah,
going to cost
so-
us to do it.
That's why I'm having this, and it's our workshop, that's why I'm asking you guys, this is what it's for. I mean, I don't make the decision, we make a decision. So if you're telling me I'll go and see what, a going rate for something like this and how much it'll cost, and then
We have to have a cost.
we
before
can
even think
advertise.
about it.
It's not,
I mean, I think you have to quantify.
but I gotta tell you how
it a
much
little
it's
bit.
gonna cost you for 2 months. right?
Yeah, I mean,
And I think, like Dave said, you and Tom and whoever else is on, you're on the rec committee too, right? And sit down with Tom, and he can probably tell you things you don't even know needs
And
to be done.
I think the other part of this here is that, the tasks that you listed off are plentiful and seem like they're a large chunk of Tom's current job. So if these are being taken off of his plate, are there potential things that you might add that are less labor intensive that he could take on from someone else? I mean, maybe there's a shift in responsibility or something to that effect, because
Tom does a lot off the books, and that doesn't get paid for. I mean, he's on call for down there every Sunday or Saturday when unlock or lock the kitchen up, all that kind of stuff. I don't even think he gets paid every time he goes
Well,
down.
he puts his,
Well, that's
he
part of
he
his-
keeps track of his hours.
Part of his job description. I mean, he's.
He doesn't have
you
set
you
hours,
have a
he
new
does.
peer,
Right, but those kind of
we
things
have
you
a new
could-
peer that we're looking for some management, some oversight of, potentially. Maybe
that's
that's
what
a
he
less
is.
labor-intensive thing, that he can take
Exactly.
on some additional responsibility there if he's unloading some of the physical labor at the existing parks.
Yeah, I mean, his whole garage needs to be cleaned out. The pavilion needs to be painted and stripped. The shed needs to be painted. The shed needs to be repaired. The dock needs to be repaired and stained. Down at the dog park, we have multiple things that are going to be going on down there now in the next couple months. So the garbages have to be changed every day, not just whenever you think. So yeah, there's a lot of tasks to be done. And again, I want to address the problem now because Tom addressed it with me, right? And I'm sure it took him a lot to actually even say that to me because
But
he
in
loves
Tom's,
that park.
in Tom's defense, I visited every one of those properties today, and every one of those properties was garbage-free. It was beautiful, it was pristine, so I know it can be done.
Oh, it could be done, I mean, between myself and yourself, talking to him a couple times about it, I think he understands we want at the very least, the garbages have to be
No
cleaned.
complaints this week.
So, all right, so I don't want to keep going on. I'm going to meet with Chris, and we'll look at what the cost would be, and then I'll get you the costs back. I'll have a conversation with Tom, and we'll go from there, all right? Okay? All right. All right, got some correspondence here for us. All right. Town Board Marlborough, I would like to request the Cluett Chance Park baseball fields June 18th, 9 a.m. to 11:30. Thank you for prompt attention to this matter. Due to COVID, we were not able to play last year, and the kids' parents and alumni are requesting the game go on as usual this year. As always, the park is a great place for the students, parents, alumni enjoy the day. And this is Joanne Cangeli, and this is what she does for her daughter every year. She does a softball tournament in her honor, and she raises money for the cause. So she's asking, obviously, if that date is available and if there's no fees. And I would assume, Danielle, if I remember, we talked about this and the date's available. It doesn't conflict with Marlborough Youth or anything. And we talked to the Highway Department because we are going to be doing some renovations on the field, and they know about this date. So is everybody good with that? You just make a motion?
I make a motion that we waive the fees for the 18th of June it was.
Yep.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, this is one that just came in today. This is to the town of Marlborough. We are the Wallkill River School of Art, a 501c3 nonprofit for interested in hosting a small art class at the grounds of the Milton train station on July 13th, 5 to 8 o'clock. The art class will be headed by Laura Martinez Bianco, who has run many outdoor painting classes with us and maintain a level of respect for the area she teaches. We would like to apply for a nonprofit fee discount and are prepared to give the $100 security deposit once confirmed. The class will have a maximum of 10 people and will be largely quiet and well-behaved retirees. Even though all painting will be done outside, we want to reserve the train station to guarantee that we can paint there on that date. For additional information, please contact us. And that's from Nick Riker. And that date's available, Danielle, right?
Yes, I talked to her on the phone today. She just wants to use the outside. They don't even want to go
Yeah.
inside the train station, but I did suggest going through this.
Yep.
So no one rents the train station that day, so.
Yeah, I mean, technically, she
So they
could
have-
use the outside. I mean, it's
I said
technically
it's
a
public.
park. It's a
Yeah,
public
that's what
space.
I said, but I said if you want
But
to
I
be
mean,
near the
I
train
like that she's
station-
asking us
Yeah.
because she wants to make sure, like, we're not interfering something that could be going on at the train station that
Yeah.
day.
And if it rains, she might have to go inside.
Yeah, so,
True.
well, we can't do painting inside there. I don't know about that, but, well, maybe.
Yeah, no paint,
We
no
have to
paint.
see. But I don't know if the board's okay with I mean, again,
Yeah,
they're
I'm
not
good.
going to be inside.
What's
so.
the organization?
This is the Wallkill River School and Art, 501c nonprofit. Sounds like it must be for
Are they in?
seniors because it's, she says we're all retirees. So I'm assuming it's for seniors. So I don't know. I'll make a motion myself.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. All right, now I got some not so good ones. Resignation letters. Dear Highway Superintendent John Alonji, Town Board, I am writing this letter to you because I am resigning from my title of MEO on May 13th, 2022. I would first like to thank you for the past 6 years for the opportunity of working under you. You are such a great boss and a better mentor. You have taught me a lot from how to conduct myself on the job and off the job. I learned how to be a better person, how to make better choices, because we both know I haven't made the best ones. And also how to do various tasks that are required to do my job from the day to day I walked into the Highway Department. You have been there for me 100%. My time at the Highway Department will never disappear from my mind. I've had a lot of good memories from the hot summers raking blacktop to the cold winters plowing snow. I'm sure you're never going to forget that. These past 6 years have been a blessing, but sadly, it is time to move on. Thank you for all that you have done for me, and don't even think it has gone unnoticed. You have been a good friend to me, and I will never forget that. Your friend, Chris Menkes. So we're losing Chris, very good employee, and you could tell how he really loved his job at the Highway Department, the guys he worked with. And I tell you, that's a common theme, not just in the Highway Department and most of all our departments. It's, Marlborough is a good place to work, and we have great leaders in great positions. So sad to see him leave, but he's going on for better things. So
Do you know where he's going?
No, I do not. I did not.
But you knew everything.
That I didn't ask him. I'm like, look, hey, we're training you, and someone else is going to reap the benefits.
He knows.
Well, we don't want to make it public. Here's another. This one might shock some people, but here we go. To Honorable Mike Frazier, Town Justice, Honorable Dan Jackson, Town Justice, Scott Corcoran, Supervisor. This is my resignation letter from Michelle Edwards, Town Clerk. Please accept this letter as my formal resignation from my position as Court Clerk for the Town of Marlborough effective June 10th, 2022. I'm excited to share that I am relocating to another state, and the opportunity is a great step for me personally and professionally. This is bittersweet news for me to deliver, as I am fond of the time that I have served the community for the past 14 years as Court Clerk. Please talk to Human Resource Department about my unused sick days, personal days, and vacation days, which I have. I talked to Chris about it, so that's all straightened out. I hope that I can get those unused days compensated. I cannot say enough great things about the town of Marlborough and all the people I have worked with in the past and present years. I have appreciated all your personal and professional guidance and support. I will always be grateful for the experience. During the next 2 weeks in my role, I'm committed to helping Renee prepare for my departure to minimize any disruption and changes. Thank you, Michelle Edwards, Town Clerk, Town of Marlborough. So we're losing a good one, a long-time Court Clerk. She worked through a lot of hardships that we went through in the town at the court, and she made it through, and we're better for it. And our court has been running extremely well over the last few years with the guidance of our new judges. So we're sad to see Michelle go. She was very upset. Trust me, in the conversation I had with her, she's very upset, but she's going to Florida, and she'll be working for a court system in Florida. So she is transferring to do what she does here. So we will be putting out an advertisement. So I'm going to ask the board that we can advertise for a court clerk ASAP, because we have one short clerk. It's not a good thing. So
I'll second that motion.
I didn't motion, but
I thought you said you motioned. You
I
wanted
said
to
I'm asking for a motion, but
I'll motion to advertise for the court clerk.
okay, there you go. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second you, Eddie.
Okay, so we'll advertise. I already talked to Mike. This is Mike's clerk. So we're gonna had a conversation with Renee. Renee is going to step up and help out as best she can, but of course it's busy. You know, we're coming out of COVID, so there's a lot of cases that have built up, and so courts have been pretty busy lately. But she's willing to do the work, so I want to thank Renee. So if you see her, thank her. But again, sorry to see Michelle leave, but she's going on to a better place for her. So thank you for her service. So
I did know about that one, so I wasn't surprised.
all right, public comments. Anybody got public comments? Or we're good tonight? All right. Got any more, Bobby? Come on. All right, so we're going to go into our resolution, and this is to adopt our all our local law changes. And I might not read through every single thing of this, just so you know, well, they're not as bad, because sometimes they're very lengthy. But here we go. Resolution number 53 to adopt local law 3 of the year 2022, amending section 71-3, open burning prohibited in certain zones of the town of Marlborough Code. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following. How come it got offered to following, which is second?
Probably you.
Supervisor Corcoran found the following. It doesn't make sense, the first section there. I should have read this a little earlier, closer.
I think we'll just put your name for
Yeah.
offering. And then we
Which
need
is seconded
basically a
by
second.
I think I seconded the first one.
Councilman Malinelli, who moved for its adoption.
We all did one.
Yep. Whereas a local law was introduced to be known as Local Law 3 of 2022, entitled Local Law of the Town of Marlborough, Ulster County, New York, amending section 71-3, open burning prohibited in certain zones of the Town of Marlborough Code. Whereas a public hearing in relation to the said local law was held on May 23rd, 2022 at 7 p.m. prevailing time, and whereas notice of said public hearing was given pursuant to the terms and provisions of the municipal home rule law of the state of New York. And whereas said local law has been on the desk of the members of the town board of the town of Marlborough for at least 7 days exclusive of Sunday, now therefore it be resolved that the following local law hereby enacted, Section 1, Section 71-3 of the Town Code of the Town of Marlborough, amended as follows. Deletions are stricken and additions are underscored. Open burning of any type, including the container, is prohibited in the R, BC, and C zones. So BC was what was added, and that's the business corridor zone. That's the main highway zone. So again, very minor. If any of these sections of the law shall be held unconstitutional, invalid, and ineffective, the whole or part such determined shall not be deemed effective and impair validation or remember the law. And this is I'll read this whole one. The next couple, I'll skip over some of this. Section 3, the local law shall be effective upon filing the Secretary of State. Resolved that the town clerk shall file a certain original of this local law to the office of the town clerk and one certified copy to the office Secretary of State, State of New York. Such certified copy to have attached thereto a certificate that contains the correct text of the enactment of the local law. The foregone resolution was duly put to vote, which was resolved as follows.
Supervisor Corcoran?
Yes.
Councilman Molinelli?
Yes.
Councilman Kauki?
Yes.
Councilman Zambito?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa?
Yes.
Thank you. What you got to do for adding just BC? It's a lot. And you want to pass a dust ordinance, Bobby? Okay. Particulates, there we go. Resolution 54, to adopt a local law number 4 of the year 2022, amending section 114-5, general requirements of the town of Marlborough Code. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following resolution, which was seconded by, I think it was you, Sheridan, this time.
Then me.
Councilwoman Sesha, who moved for its adoption. Whereas the local law was introduced, known as Local Law 4 2022, entitled Local Law of the Town of Marlborough, Ulster County, New York, amending section 114-5, general requirements of the Town of Marlborough Code. Again, we had a public hearing on May 23rd, 7 p.m. We have home rule. It sat on the books for 7 days, excluding Sunday. Now, for be it resolved that the local law is hereby enacted, and this is section 114-5D of the town code of the and its following is stricken or underscored. So basically this one is we taken exceeds 24 inches to 12 inches. This is premises shall be maintained in such a manner that noxious weeds do not encroach upon adjoining properties, and the grass thereon shall be mowed or cut when the height of growth exceeds 12 inches now. Exempt for the provisions, of course, is located in RAG1 and those permissive active farming zones. Maybe we could put dust in there. So we're going from 24 inches to 12 inches to cut your grass. If you don't, and someone complains to the code enforcement officer, now he has some teeth in the code that he could come there and fine you. Because we're getting, unfortunately, a lot of people not cutting their lawns a lot lately. I don't know why, and it doesn't look good when we have a lot of people come up from other parts of the state and they visit our beautiful town and they're driving the back roads and you see a house all overgrown, or if it's a 9W and the house is overgrown. So we're going to see if this will help a little. Resolved that the town clerk shall file a certified original of the local law in the office of the town clerk and one certified copy in the office of Secretary of State of New York. Such certified copy to have attached thereto a certificate that contains the correct text and enactment of the local law. The foregone resolution was duly put to vote, which resolved as follows.
Supervisor Corcoran?
Yes.
Scott, what is the fine on this thing?
What?
The fine on this, if they exceeds the 12 inches and they're fined, what are the fine fees?
Goes to court.
What's that?
Goes to, he gives them a court notice, and the court defines the fine.
The court will give them a fine so that somebody will complain, neighbor will complain, say, hey, this grass is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they go, Tom gives them a
Tommy
ticket?
gives them a court notice appearance for a violation.
And then the court...
Judge decides, yep.
Yeah, you got to understand, everybody gets misunderstood. The code enforcement officer only enforces the code. He doesn't set fines. Like, he doesn't go to your house and say, here, pay $100 because your grass is too high. It's not how it works. He gets a complaint, he takes the complaint in, he goes to the house, he first asks them to comply. If they don't comply, then he writes a violation. He mails them a certified violation notice with a court appearance. It goes to the judge, and then the judge Most of the time, we'll say, I'll give you one last chance to get that resolved within the next X amount of days. If you don't do that, you'll appear back here in the next court, and then you could say, I'm going to fine you. And in our code, I believe the largest fine, if I'm off the top of my head, I think was $1,000, I think, something like that. There's guidelines to it. But it's all done by the court. So just, again, my brother, the code enforcement officer, does not imply the fines. So it would be nice if he did, to be honest with you.
Was
But,
that court time?
it's not like you go like in cities and they have a meter reader and they put a ticket right on your window and there's a fine associated with that already. No, that's not how it works. But, yeah, that's the process.
Most of the time, it's banks that are going to foreclosure. They don't take care of their properties.
Yeah, but look, we try to give everybody a benefit of the doubt, and we try to get it resolved without fining people, right? You go there, you ask them politely to do something. If they refuse, then they get a court appearance. Again, I would say 99% of the time, the judge is also going to say, can you please get this done within, the next 2 weeks? And if you don't get it done, you're going to appear back here, and then I'm going to impose a fine on you. But we don't want to fine people. We just want people to abide by the codes. So, if they don't, then they get fined. And then it goes from there. So that's it. Right, Bobby?
He's brewing over there.
All right. It moves and resolved as follows again.
Supervisor Corcoran?
Yes.
Councilman Molinelli?
Yes.
Councilman Kauki?
Yes.
Councilman Zambito?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we're getting there. Resolution 55 to adopt local law number 5, amending section 130-14.9, street identification signs of the town of Marlborough. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following resolution, which was seconded by Councilman Zambito, who moved its adoption, where as a local law was introduced known as local law number 5, 2022, entitled Local Law of the Town of Marlborough, Ulster County, New York, amending section 130-14.9, street identification signs of the town of Marlborough Code. So we had the public hearing on May 23rd at 7 o'clock. Home rule, we waited 7 days, excluding Sunday. So 130-14.9A of the town of code. So this one is dealing with, as you know, you see around town, you see the green signs are starting to turn into white signs. So in our code, it actually said that every sign had to be green with white letters. Very small change. We're going to keep the green with, keep what it actually was in there with the green, but we're also going to add or black characters on white background, because you'll notice that some are green and some are still white. And if you have a private road sign, if you choose not to pay for it, you're going to keep a green sign. So we didn't want to take the green out and then have a problem, so we're going to have both. So that's the change. We're just adding a black character with a white background. Everything else stays the same within that code. Very simple. Foregone resolution was duly put to a vote, which resolved as follows.
Supervisor Corcoran?
Yes.
Councilman Molinelli?
Yes.
Councilman Kauki?
Yes.
Councilman Zambito?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa?
Yes.
Thank you. See, as I go, I'm shortening them up. Resolution 56 to adopt local law number 6, amending section 68-10, private road signs of the Marlborough Town Code. So this is a different section in the code. It's similar to what we're changing, but it's a different section in the code. Supervisor Corcoran proposes the following resolution, which was seconded by Councilman Kauki, and moves for its adoption. Whereas the local law was introduced and known as local law number 6, 2022, entitled the local law of the town of Marlborough, Ulster County, New York, amending section 68-10, private road signs of the town of Marlborough Town Code. Public hearing on May 23rd, 7 o'clock. Home rule, 7 days on the book without excluding Sunday. 68-10A of the town code is changed, and you can see here, or black characters on the white background. That's the change. We're just adding it, and we're keeping the old with the new. Okay. The foregone resolution was duly put to vote, which resulted as follows.
Supervisor Corcoran?
Yes.
Councilman Molinelli?
Yes.
Councilman Kauki?
Yes.
Councilman Zambito?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sessa?
Yes.
Okay. We made it through to Eddie's favorite time of the night.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to adjourn. Everybody have a good 2 weeks.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Don't forget, on Sunday is the parade, 1 o'clock. It's in Milton this year. Lineup's 12, 1 o'clock kicks off, and we end at the park, so come on out.
Is that pencil, Mr. Molinelli? Did you sign in pencil?